Hello. What a wonderful time that we're going to be having together again, even as we connect on this channel, talking about accounting. And we are continuing with what we stopped the other day in the other class. We're looking at, accounting for overheads. And today we are moving further, to talk about apportionment. We're talking about apportionment of overheads. In the last class, we talked about account for overhead, and we look at the meaning, we look at classification, we look at collection, and we'll also look at allocation of overhead. So today we are moving forward, and we're going to be talking about apportionment of overhead. My name is Dr. Obafemi Oyewumi. Once again, I want to like to welcome you to this particular class, and I would like to also encourage you to subscribe, even to my channel. And as you do that, you'll be able to have the opportunity to be a part of subsequent, lectures that will also be taking place, lectures related to accounting and its related courses. So that's what we'll be talking about, in this particular class. Today we're looking at apportionment of overhead. So let me quickly share my screen so that we can be part of the lecture, even right now. All right, so that's my screen being shared for every one of us to see even right now. So let me put the presentation mode, and then we continue with the topic for today, accounting for overhead, and then we have it as apportionment. All right, so let's look at the learning objectives. So at the end of this lecture, you should be able to appreciate the concepts of overhead apportionment. You should also be able to understand the basis of apportionment of overhead costs. Okay, you also be able to know and appreciate, charging of service cost overheads to production centers. So let's talk about apportionment. Okay, what is apportionment? All right, what is apportionment? It's an overhead apportionment is the process of charging, common items of indirect costs to two or more cost centers in a proportional and equitable manner. Now, indirect costs, that's overheads now, are incurred by various, centers, the service centers, the production centers, and the likes. Now we're saying that when it comes to apportionment, we want to charge, the common items of indirect costs shared by all the different centers. We want to share them in a proportional manner and an equitable manner to all the different cost centers. So apportionment of overhead is distribution of overheads to more than one cost center on an equitable basis. Apportionment of overhead is the distribution of overheads to more than one cost centers, more than one cost center in an equitable basis. And give an example there. And for example, expenditure of general repairs and maintenance pertaining to a department cannot be allocated. Last time we talked about allocation. So this time around, we're saying we're not allocating because these costs are general. They are borne by, by all the departments, all the units, all the cost centers. So it's appropriate to move, to share the cost, the common cost, to the different cost centers. So that's what apportionment is. And then there's some basic apportionment, base of apportionment that have been used over time. Have been used over time, and some of them are listed here. So we have the different overheads, on the left side, and then we have the basis of apportionment on the right side. So we have rent, rates, insurance, that has anything that has to do with the building. Of course, you use the floor area. That's to say that how many for example, the square meter being used by each cost center. So that's the base of which they will share the cost. Depreciation of and insurance of equipment, whichever equipment that is being used in all the different cost centers. So we are also going to share the depreciation coming from being charged on those equipment, and the basis will be cost or the book value of the equipment. Personnel, office, canteen, welfare, wages, expenses will also be shared according to the number of employees or labor hours worked in each cost center. Electricity, stores, they also be shared appropriately. So all it takes is just for students to get used to this, to understand this basis, and then as much as possible endeavor to know what to do when you see any overhead relating to maintenance, relating to material handling, relating to production. You need to know how you're going to deal, with them as much as possible using the basis of apportionment that's appropriate for each, overheads. Okay, so let's look at this particular example so that we also have an understanding of what we are, talking about practically. Okay, now we have a particular department, now a particular company. Okay, we said that the following estimated figures for 12 months are made available for a factory which has two production departments and a production control department. So there are two production departments, A and B, and then we have production department. Okay, this is a production control. So this is a service center, as it were, service center or service, cost center. All right. So we have the different overheads. Rent is 2,000. Depreciation, of course, of plant 8,000. Heating and lighting 1,000. Power 2008. Factory administration overhead. So these are shared costs. And so this shared cost must now be distributed and apportioned to the different departments, making use of this shared cost. So that's what we are referring to. That's what when we talk about apportionment, that's the process. We now want to find out how do we apportion rent to Department A, Department B, and how do we apportion, depreciation to Department A, Department B, and if possible, production control. How do we apportion power? How do we move, share this, all this shared cost to the different departments within this particular organization? So we say you are required to prepare overhead analysis sheet showing how the overhead cost will be apportioned. So let's go and look at the different the ways to go around about it. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so this is the solution. Now we have rent, depreciation, lighting, heat and lighting, power, factory administration. Okay, we have the difference. And then you look at the overhead cost listed there in the second column. We have all the different overhead costs listed there: 2,000, 8,000, 1,000, 2008, 6,003. Okay, that's what we have. Look at the initial question given to us. Now let's see how the base of apportionment. We have area in square meters, value of plant, because now we talk about depreciation. So depreciation will always be shared based on the value of the plant being, depreciated. Okay. Again, if it was insurance, the value of the plant will also be used to share, the insurance cost. Then for heat and lighting, we talk about estimated kilowatts. For power, estimated kilowatts. So it's possible for you to have the same basis for different items. Factory administration, because we have number of employees. So look at the sharing. All right, Department A, Department B, and then production control. If you go back to the question, you realize that for Department area and square meter was given to us in the question. Area in square meter, we have 5,000, 4,000, 1,000. So what is this? For you to know the amount to be given or shared to Department A, all you have to do is to add all these three together. That's will give you 5,000 plus 4,000 plus 1,000 will give you 10,000. And then you divide 5,000 by 10,000. So the numerator will be 5,000 for Department A, and then the denominator will be 10,000. That is the total of the entire factory. Okay. For Department B, that's 4 over 10,000, and then for production control, that's 1,000 over 10,000. So when you do that, you arrive at this. So this is like half. 5,000 over 10,000 is half. So that's half of 2,000 now, as it's as we recorded here. 4,000 over 8,000 over 10,000 divided by 2,000 will give you this figure, and then 1,000 over 10,000 will give you this figure. So the same thing you do for depreciation. When you know the value of plants, the value of the plant given to us, 30,000, 20,000, that's 50,000. So you have a 30,000 over 50,000 will give you 4,008. And then the same way you also have this particular figure here, 20,000 over 50,000 will give you 33,002. So when you divide this, okay, you multiply by the overhead, cost, and then you share it accordingly. So that's the way to go about it. At the end of the day, you have the shared out of this overhead that we have here, 11,452 have been shared to the apportion to. Let me write one apportion to Department A, and then 1,148 apportion to Department B, and then 500 apportion to production control. All right, so that is how to apportion cost to the different cost centers. Now let's look at now we have Department A, Department B. Those are the production, centers. Now what happens to production control? What happens to production control cost at the end of the day? Production control cost, don't forget, is a service, center. We can't leave it like this. So that means that at the end of the day, you have to apportion, the service costs overhead. You have to apportion it to Department A and Department B at the end of the day. So let's look at the next topic that talks, the next subtopic that talks about how do you apportion service cost center overheads to production centers. So that's what we have in the next slide. Okay, apportionment of service costs to production departments. Apportionment of service costs to production department. And of course, when you talk about service center is a cost center that is not directly involved with converting raw materials to finished products. So that is what service centers are. They are not directly involved, but of course they help in ensuring that the production departments are well serviced and they are working perfectly. So service centers may include units such as personnel, maintenance, medical centers. As a result of the activities, they incur costs which would have to be distributed to the various production cost centers for inclusiveness. So let's move on and see what basis and how to go about it. So there are 4 methods basically, but we'll be looking at only 3 here. The first one is direct method, one-step apportionment. Direct method, one-step apportionment. Under this method, the overheads of service departments are apportioned to only the production department, ignoring apportionment to other service departments. So in this case, only the overheads of the service department will just be apportioned. And once they're apportioned once, that's the end of that particular overhead cost in that service center. Okay, so you don't have to apportion to other service center. What it means that it's possible for one service center to be servicing another service center. So once you have one particular service center as apportion, then that will be the end for that particular service center. You go to the next one and you share accordingly. The second one is elimination method, sequential apportionment in bracket. Okay, under this method, service departments costs are apportioned over other departments, production as well as service, using the agreed percentages. So what it means that the service cost, in this case now, is not only servicing, all the production, it's also servicing the different service centers. So what it means is that once you move or you apportion the one for a particular service center, it is also shared or apportioned to other service centers. So at the end of the day, you keep on, on a sequential manner, you keep on apportioning until all the overheads is eliminated for each service center. So that's why it's called sequential. Once you move from one particular, once you share a particular cost center, a particular service center overhead, then you move to the next one. Of course, when you are sharing the next one, it's also taken to part of it is also shared to other service centers, and you go back to that service center again and then do the same thing until everything is eliminated. This is repetitive distribution method, the continuous allotment, method. Under this method, service department are apportioned over other departments, production as well as service, according to the agreed percentage. Okay, this process continues till the amount to be transferred to a particular service department becomes very small and insignificant. So this is repetitive. Okay, it's saying that every time you share, you keep going back, you go back again to share. When you distribute, when you apportion, you go back in, because once you move from one service center, is the cost being used there, the cost that have been generated, the cost that have been incurred will also be spread to other service centers. So it doesn't matter whether you've actually apportioned, for a particular service center in the previous distribution that you've done, you still have another one to be distributed, again. So that's continuous allotment, method. So let's look at this example. Foundation Limited Company has two service departments and two production departments. So we have two service departments, that's admin and maintenance, and then production department has two, production department two, that's molding and then assembly. Okay, so we have the various overhead costs here: 80,000, 120,000, 460,000, 540,000. Direct labor hours have also been given, machine hours given, number of employees have been given. Okay, 500, 2,000, 25,000, 32,000, 200 for machine hours, 300 for maintenance, 6,000 for molding, and then 12,000 machine hours for assembly. So typically take note, administration costs are allocated, okay, based on number of employees, and factory maintenance costs are allocated based on machine hours. Allocate the service department, required to allocate the service department overhead costs using the three methods and determine the total overhead cost for the molding and assembly department. Okay, so we have this overhead cost for all the different units, cost centers, admin, maintenance, molding, assembly, and then of course the direct labor hours, machine hours, number of have also been given. So let's look at the solution. Okay, we will look at the direct method first and foremost, like we talked about. Okay, talk about direct method, we talk about elimination method, and then we talk about repetitive distribution method, which is and then the continuous allotment method. The fourth one is simultaneous equation method. Of course, we are not going to be dealing with that, because that has a kind of a complexity that this particular class will not be totally allow us to do. Okay, so let's go to the solution. All right, so overhead apportion direct method. So you can look at it now. So we have the overhead costs, okay, the items, the overhead costs, and then we have base of apportionment. We have admin, that's talking about the service centers, admin and maintenance, and then we have the production center, molding and assembly. So the overhead cost for admin is 80,000 as given in our question. And then that of maintenance is 120. And then we have 460 and 540 for molding and assembly. So now let us want to apportion the cost here to the molding and assembly, production centers. Okay, so what are we going to do? Is based on number of employees. So you go back to the question, say what are the how many employees do they have? Number of employees. That's what we want to talk about. So for molding is 2,005, and then for assembly is 10,000. So we're going to have 2,005 over 12,005, okay, and then multiply by the 80 that we have, here. When you do that, you have 16,000 and then 64,000. So this one has been shared accordingly. So you have 16,000 and then 64,000. Okay, that's the end of the apportionment of this particular overhead using direct method. Let's go to the next one, maintenance. Okay, maintenance use machine hours. Look at the basis, machine hours. So you're going to also divide 120 into you divide 120 to these two, or rather you share 120 to these two production departments. So you have 40 and then 80 that has been shared accordingly to the two of them. So you have at the end of the day 516,000 for molding, and then 684 as the total overhead now to be that this production cost center have been incurred and apportioned to. So that's what we have. Okay, that's what we have, there for machine hours. Because we have 6,000 over 18,000. When you add these two together, that's what you get, to have those figures. So let's go to the second one, which is elimination method. Elimination method. Now, for elimination method, we're going back to that's 80. So we have 80, 120, 460, and 504. So the same what we did initially. Okay. Remember, in the first case, we didn't share admin costs to maintenance. We didn't share admin cost to maintenance. But this time around now, admin cost is being shared to maintenance. That means that admin is also serving maintenance. That's a service center. Also, and at the same time serving the production center. So the cost of this particular 80,000, part of it will come to maintenance, come to molding, and then come to assembly using the appropriate sharing formula, as it were. So you have in total a different figure for maintenance. So rather than sharing only 120, you're not going to share 123,000. That's what you're going to apportion, okay, and you're going to distribute. Now, having arrived at this figure for maintenance, remember, admin will not have anything again to take. So what you have here is to move this one out and share accordingly to the production department. And here we have 41,000 and then 82,000. You're still going to be using the same basis and the number of machine hours that have been used by these departments. All right. Remember, we have a question earlier on here. So we're going to be using machine hours, 6,000 and 18,000 and 12,000. When it comes to number of employees, you're going to use this. This time around, you have machine maintenance 500. This one is 2,005, and this one 10,000. And that's talking about approximately 3,000. That's 13,000. So in the case of maintenance, you have 500 over 13,000 multiplied, by 80,000, for number of employees. So let's go to the next one. Okay, we're done with this as well. So at the end, you have 516,410, 683,589. You can see that they are very close. The figures are quite close. So it's not as if one is specifically you want to rate one higher than the other, but it's just that one, in this case now, a higher volume has been allocated, apportion to molding, and then at the same time, why this one has been reduced a little. So let's go to the next one. That's continuous assessment. Okay, continuous assessment. So if you are just joining or watching this, this is a topic for today. We're relating to we're talking about overhead apportionment. Overhead apportionment. So we have spoken about the different methods, and we're looking at the last one here now. Overhead apportionment, that's continuous allotment method. So in this case, we still have overhead costs as 80 for admin, 120 for maintenance, and then for molding, you have 460, and then for assembly, you have 540. That figure has been given to us. We don't have to tamper with it. Now, let's look at the first level of apportionment. 80,000, is being apportioned to maintenance, to molding, and to assembly. And then we arrive at a different figure. That's 123,000, 475,000, 600, and 1,538. So that's what we have. That first level of, apportionment. Now, we move on to the second level. Second level will now mean that we want to actually share maintenance overhead. Maintenance, service center overhead. Now, we arrive at 103 here. At the end of the day, you're going to apportion this figure. Now, you are not apportioning this figure to only the production centers. You're also apportioning it to admin, service center as well. You're also going to apportion to admin, service center as well. So 123,000 is now being shared to admin, molding, and then assembly, using the ratios that are arising from the different parameters given to us in the question. So now that means that admin that you had remove everything before now has a different figure that you now still have to apportion, because why this one has been reduced to 0, then we have this figure as 515, and then 682, for assembly. So let's go back to the third, level of apportionment. Third level of apportionment. So now that we have 1,352.49 to be shared, in this case. So that's the next level of apportionment you want to do. You use using the appropriate parameters as well to the ratios. We're going to now have 52 being shared to maintenance, 260 naira being shared to molding, and then 338.12 being shared to assembly. So that gives us a new figure for maintenance, a new figure for maintenance. So maintenance that we had actually eliminated before, okay, we are now back, it's now having a different figure, another figure to also be shared. So now this time around, you have the total of this figure. So that's our molding department, okay, and then assembly department also has 683,026.20. All right. So now, what do you want to do? The next thing is to go to the fourth level of apportionment. So that's why it is called continuous allotment method. You keep on sharing until everything has been reduced to, 0. In this case now, you are going to share 52 naira. Now it started for 120. Okay, it moved to 123 and then reduced to 52, and that's 52 are sharing, to the different, centers. Now 52, using the appropriate, using the ratio, will now be shared, to admin. You can see now that's almost 0.57, shared to molding, that's 17 naira, and then shared to assembly, that's 34.30, naira. So at the end of the day, you're having, this figure as the balance that is left. This 0.57 is no longer significant, so you don't have to bother to say let's go to the next level. But if it was a situation whereby we had a different figure that is quite, voluminous or huge, we still have to go back again and begin to share, accordingly. So the 0 here, there's 516, 516,236 naira, 67 kobo. And then the final figure that we have here is 683,000. And then we have 680,000, 60 naira, 0.50, kobo. So you can see that sequential, talking about overhead apportionment that is based on continuous allotment method, everything keeps going and moving on and on and on until everything is reduced. All the service cost centers. Now, remember what we're talking about has to do with sharing, the service cost center overheads to the production department. That's the whole object of this particular, exercise, talking about apportionment. All right, that's the whole object. That's the whole thing that we're trying to do. And now we have been able to achieve that, even here, depending on different methods that you use. So that will bring us to the end of this second part of this particular topic. And hopefully we're going to move on in a very few hours to come. We'll move on to the third part of the class. Okay, and that will be talking about absorption. So as a matter of fact, now absorption is very key because that's where everything will be absorbed to the cost of production. So now this is where we're going to call it today, even regarding this. So thank you for being part of this class. I believe that you have learned one or two things, here as well. So please hit the subscribe button. Just subscribe to this particular channel, and I believe that you're going to be having more to come, hereafter. Thank you for joining. God bless you.